Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in this video I want to do a quick revisiting of one of my favorite, let's say, Sega clone systems I've picked up in the last couple of years. Yeah, I've reviewed a lot of them and most of them are pretty damn crappy or looking really weird. This one does look weird, but there's a couple of reasons why I really like it. So this thing basically has everything when it comes to connections. We do have an AV out, we have an HDMI and also comes with wireless controllers. But it looks kinda odd when it comes to the system itself. It only plays, let's say, only 16-bit games, but we do have the option to add yourself like games through an SD card. A lot of features you're missing out with a lot of devices. And in my opinion, that makes this thing one of the best, or maybe the best, you can pick up in 2022. Maybe it's kind of a bold statement, because we have a lot of other systems out there, but take consideration, it's like the best you can get, but also with a budget price. It's not like a knockoff system that we have seen before. This thing is quite interesting in many different ways. We can play original games, we have just your typical on-off switch slider, and of course the reset. At the front we're going to get a headphone jack out, and the LED is over here, two controller ports at the front, and here at the back we even have the option to change between different regions. So also this thing can be played with all kinds of games. Micro USB, we have like the TF card or the micro SD card. Let's take a close look at what they're using in this machine. It's like brandless. That's something they're doing more often nowadays. We have the old school AV out. You have even like an option for like aspect ratio that you can change out and the HDMI functionality. So this device just has everything that we want. SD function, original games, region free, aspect ratio, you name it, it has it all. Oh man, yeah, it's a little bit kind of messy. I basically dropped it back in the box. But overall the controllers were an okay quality. There we do have like something that I really didn't like too much. I've seen a lot of like say knockoff controllers, but this is not like the weird ones. Like not the bad ones of quality, but overall when you're looking at the D-pad, the weird, let's say flimsy, high, just floating D-pad. I don't know. It's so weird and odd when you play with it. And also the controller has these weird high buttons. That doesn't make a very good gaming experience. They're wireless, one of those like freaking like compartments that get loose every single time, really annoying. The clicking mechanism is not great. It works on 5 volts, so you're going to get yourself a charger and of course the HDMI cable. But let's take a close look at the system itself and let's plug it in and also let's rip it apart. But okay, so how about the game compatibility? That's also we're going to try. We're going to do HDMI capture. And yep, for the people wondering, if you want to have an attachment like this, no, that doesn't work, and that also includes for the Sega CD. So what you're going to get basically is this 16-bit fake power, and we're going to see if we can play some cartridges like combination cards and other things. But how about the cartridge slot? So this thing, once I accept the cartridges very well, but they won't give it back. Like you can prior, you can just wiggle around. The wiggling seems to be working, but that's always the case with these cheap China clones, that they are very tight. Okay, so for the first test I wanted to try out the CRT function. I must say I'm quite surprised. Look at this, like the image, I'm hoping the camera picks it up. Like it looks amazing, and I must say that I am very satisfied with it. But there is only one downside I'm already noticing. So let's listen to the Xenocrisis tune and you can hear it, there is something pretty damn messed up. You hear this weird sound effect? That is not normal. So and that's the main problem what we're going to get with most of these clone systems. So let's try a game and just see how this will work out when we're actually going to play a freaking game.
Clear.
So when you're actually going to play the game, you don't notice it, like the weird sound effects and the audio is slightly messed up. Okay, so but the next level is for the testing, is Street Rage number 2. So you can hear like the soundtrack effect, there's nothing wrong with it, but the music. That is not like it should be. And somehow they cannot manage to get the perfect audio with these freaking things. But in the other hand, when you're listening to the sound effects, they are like just fine. Alright, so what are we going to get with the controller? So the controller is your typical Chinese knockoff controller, and yep, it feels really cheap. Like the buttons feel such a weird, like when you're holding an original controller you can feel its quality, you can just feel it with the D-pad here, like it's this weird floating D-pad, it feels really strange. Then we're going to get two AAA batteries at the back, so this is basically what we're going to get. So is this a great controller? Not really. I will give it a 5 out of 10, so it's not really bad, but it's also not really good. Okay, but what if you just want to use a different controller? That's another awesome feature from this device. So first of all, I just want to point out this controller is not super bad. I've played with it a couple of times now, and I must say that I really get used to the D-pad now, and in overall quality it's not bad, but of course nothing beats the 8-bit though M30. This one is just amazing. So let's plug this thing in and let's see if it works. Okay, so with the original Sega it has a lot of issues getting it in, but weirdly like this fits in perfectly with the Chinese clone, so that's kind of funny. Okay, but there's one thing you need to take consideration. You need to turn it off, you need to pull out the batteries of the original controller that came with it, because so far I can see there is no on and off switch, so yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer. It's an epic fail in my opinion, but when you connect the original controller, or in my case the M30, this thing works like a charm, so we can play the games with the wireless controller. So if this thing ever breaks, it's no problem, because we can always fix it with the M30. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the game compatibility. So first of all, we're going to try out virtual racing, or we're basically not going to try it out because this is what's happening. Messed around with the settings on the back with the region, but nothing works. So this is the end result, and virtual racing, in my opinion, doesn't work on this device. Okay, so next up I wanted to try Paul game. This is Street of Rage number 2, and somehow some of the settings of the region doesn't really work. You can see over here the game seems to be booting up just fine. I'm getting the idea, like with the HDMI functionality, it even sounds more messed up than it already was. But okay, so booting up the game, we're going to get of course the same result, that the audio is like not like it should be. It's kind of weird. But there was something else that I've noticed. But the annoying part about this system is when I wanted to boot it up in the normal PAL mode, not the Japanese, because it supports PAL and Japanese, but this is what we're going to get with it, like this weird scrolling image. Don't know, but it's pretty damn messed up. Okay, so with the same settings of the region, just try to play a normal PAL game, but everything sounds quite messed up, and the system doesn't like my Sonic D cartridge. Here you can see finally we're going to get an image. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but you can see some weird artifacts going on over there, and this is just an actual issue of the system itself. So let's add Knuckles to it and let's see what happens then. Okay, well it's cool that Sonic 3 and Knuckles cartridge is possible to combine on this machine. And the reason why, because a lot of these fake ones don't have the great support for it. But the one thing I do notice is that my save files are all gone. And it's kind of weird because that wasn't supposed to be happening. Don't know what's going on, but it's not good. Okay, so already shown you Xenocrisis. I just wanted to show you briefly again on the HDMI functionality. It looks amazing. But take consideration, like this game is multi-region, so you can basically play this on every single region you want. So the settings of the small button on the back doesn't make any sense for this game. But it's very cool to play this game actually on an HDMI. Okay, I just wanted to briefly show you that we can boot up a multi-game card. Makes no sense because this thing actually has like a freaking SD function built in. Let's boot it up so we show that it actually works. We're still going to get the same issue, because this is such a weird thing with the freaking system. Also, like always with freaking Street of Rage 2. But in the end, like, it boot up and seems to work on multi-cards. And if you want to use an Everdrive for some reason, because it's pretty pointless, because the thing got built in Everdrive, also supports Everdrives. So that is also a possibility if you want to play it like that. Okay guys, so let's take a close look with the system when there is no game installed, because then we're going to get the special menu that is inside. So then we're going to get the left side built in, and yep, it comes with a couple of games built in. Take consideration, you need to have the settings of the button correctly installed. If you're going to put it on a different region, it's highly possible the game doesn't even boot up, also with the built-in ones. And there are a lot of familiar games, and here you can see like we do have a lot of interesting titles. When you're choosing the game, then basically you're getting the loading screen for a couple of seconds, and you're going to get the boot sequence. Going to get the weird alien logo, and the games are built in. A couple of them are, so far you can see, for the Russian market, I think. So you can see everything is in a completely different language. Okay, so anyway, reset. What we're going to going to get is that we're going to get in the multi-game card system again, pressing reset again. We're going to get to the SD function. So let's see what happens if we're going to boot it up without an SD card. I think it just freezes. Oh, there we're going to get. So we're going to get the menu here. So let's boot it up with an SD card installed. Okay, so when booting up the SD card with some files installed, you're going to get the option here to load up your file. It's quite interesting if you ask me. Then we're going to even get some ROM hacks. So we have like infinite life, stuff like that. Pressing start, giving the same loading, a couple of seconds and load up instantly. Fun fact is like this loads, I think it loads up even faster than the most EverDrives, or better said like the fake EverDrive that I've seen before. Of course the audio will still be messed up. Because yeah, actually like that's just the main problem of the freaking machine. Time to become beefcake, baby. Kick him in the balls. Okay, so when it comes to playing some games, I must say that I was quite surprised to see when it comes to the functionality. Sadly, about the audio, it's a little bit of a bummer. If they will fix that issue, I think you would almost have like the ultimate machine. Because this thing can always play every single game because it's region unlocked. And if you're done with the game, press the reset again and it goes back to the main menu. And again, press it again. We're going to get to the actually like main menu. That's it. That's basically how the machine works when it comes to all the functionalities built in. Okay guys, so let's take a close look at some gameplay and capture it from the HDMI signal. And you also can hear like how the audio is actually when you're playing it on your television. So here I'm going to do briefly an overview of a couple of games. And not to forget, let's check the scaling. It has been set by 16:9, but with the switch, even when you're playing a game, you can just switch it back by clicking it to the 4:3 aspect ratio option. And you can just switch between them when you're playing, so you don't need to reset the console itself. But let's play some games and let's test the audio just in the original 4:3 aspect ratio.
From your grave.
Alright guys, so let's do a quick teardown, and yeah, there was something that was messed up. As you can see over here, the button is just wiggling around because it didn't fit over there. So there's some issues or some quality issue that I had with this device when it came in. As you can see over here, so it's a little bit of a bummer, but we're going to open it up because these things are like easy peasy to open it up already. The seal has already been broken, as you can see over there. So that's the thing that we're going to do, break the seal and be naughty, because that is wicked's way. Okie dokie, so let's turn it around, let's remove the 4 Parkers, the shiny ones, and let's open it up and let's see how this thing looks. So first of all, yep, the design is very simple. Like here you can see the springs, and this is a common problem that these things get loose over some time. It's just a very cheap construction. So here is what we're going to get in the inside. There are a couple of PCBs inside, and that is because there's a multi-guard inside and of course the SD functionality. But let's take a closer look at all of these parts and let's do a quick teardown. Okay, so here at the top we're going to get the PCB for the input for and the output, of course. The input for the power and output for the signal. Input for the, yeah, do we say correctly? The input for the power and output for the signal. Yeah, okay. Didn't have a brain for today. So, but the thing is, like, what I find quite interesting is that everything how it's made. Like, there are a lot of old school ribbon cables, the expensive flat cables. Getting this freaking thing out is going to be a freaking disaster. You can see like they squeeze it up. Just want to see what is under it, like when it comes to production date and that kind of things. So here you can see this thing has been made in 2020, so this thing is now around like a couple of, no, I was a couple of years old now, so it's not like a brand new product that just rolled out of the factory. Here we're going to get the chip. The number doesn't say anything to me. And here we're going to get the chip or the main board itself. So let's take a close look at that, because that is quite interesting. So first of all, what we're going to get, let's take a close look at this one. So this PCB, so what I think it is, it's a, or I think it's partly or it's full, like this is the 2.4 gigahertz controller unit for the wireless controllers. So that is basically what you're going to get with this one. When you're going to turn it around, then here you can see like we're going to get a QS860 chip. Did some googling, couldn't find some information, but in the end what we're going to get, this thing is been made in 2020, also includes the connector for the cartridge itself. So here we're going to see like there are a lot of stuff that they use in this. That is something else, like there's a lot of parts. Normally we're going to get like an empty shell that smells chemical, that's it, but this time it's going to be quite fancy. And this board is, by the way, made in 2019. And let's talk about the third and the last PCB that also contains the controller port and the LED over there. But what I find even more interesting is this slider. The slider for the jack output. And that is something you don't see very often with these Chinese knockoff systems. So when you're looking at this machine, it's quite fancy, it has a lot of features. But yeah, when you're looking at everything else and think about the functionality of the audio, it's a little bit of a bummer. Are you looking for like a Sega system and you don't care if it's an original one or a clone system? This clone, in my opinion, is one of the best ones I have seen so far. I've reviewed all kinds of versions, but they also have like a big problem when it comes to controllers. Oh, don't get me wrong, the controllers of this thing are absolutely rubbish. I really don't like them. But the system itself, there we do have like the most potential when it comes to the cartridge slot, the adding game feature and everything. It's not looking like a Sega, but I think it's one of the best ones you can pick up, especially for the money you're paying for it. Well, thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become a Wicked family, and let me know in the comments, do you think this is the best one of the Sega clones you can get? It would be great to see you in the next video. Let's go!